Thank you, Supervisor Kim. Thank you for your leadership in sponsoring this hearing today. Thank you, Supervisor Brown, Supervisor Fewer, for your leadership, your support on this. And I came today with prepared notes in regards to setting this up and framing this. A lot of those notes are covered, but I do have to veer off just a little bit to speak in response to the frustration to the presentation that we heard just previously. I heard words like success.
Right.
I heard words like acceptable. I heard words like good news. Right. Show me y'all success by showing me your hands right now. Show me your frustration in regards to what we're dealing with. This is what folks are dealing with on literally a daily basis. When it comes to hiring, when it comes to promotion, when it comes to just day-to-day life of being a city worker, people are feeling it far too often, and it is unacceptable. And we've been asking for a period of time. We need to address this. We need to address this. We want the city to be proactive. And until we get leadership from Supervisor Ken, Supervisor Brown, Supervisor Fewer, and Mayor Breed on this case also, we have seen very limited movement in regards to it. We are frustrated. The people here today are all making sacrifices. Everybody who is here today, they're either taking vacation off work, they're taking their lunch break, whatever the case may be. They're taking time away from their family to express their frustration. So when we hear about success based on data that can be presented in particular ways that don't speak to the truth, we're going to tell you that we're frustrated, and we're going to continue to be here until this problem is resolved. There is no space for racism in the city. There is no space for discrimination in the city, and we will not tolerate it. We will not take it. If it is the last thing this organization does and what we represent, it'll be to end this problem. Thank you.
Amen. All right.
My name is Gus Alejo, and I'm president of IFPTE Local 21. And I'm here representing our 10,000 members to stand in unity with SEIU 10-1 on this issue. Our executive committee issued a statement, a motion actually, that reads, we as IFPTE Local 21 stand against any and all forms of discrimination. We support our sisters and brothers in SEIU 10-1 in calling on the city and county of San Francisco on eliminating all forms of discrimination. Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you so much.
My name is Brenda Barrows. I have two here to give you if you want to get the copies. Two reports from members. One is my story, which I'm not going to say anything about because I want to talk about what just happened. But I just want to start off saying that I have worked with my management at the hospital to try to deal with this. I'm on the Equity Council at San Francisco General. There are some people in management who are trying to do things, but it's not fast enough, and people are suffering. And so let me give you one example. I want to read you an example, and this is from an Asian employee who wrote his story that I just gave you. It says, a year ago, on multiple occasions in front of other Asian staff who speak Chinese, the supervisor of our department used a racially derogatory term, it's written in Chinese, pronounced Hong Chine, in Chinese, multiple times to refer to a comment on one of the unit staff who spoke Ethiopian, as well as one other dark-skinned hospital staff, janitor, housekeeper. We either reminded him or cautioned him that it's not appropriate for him to use this offensive, disgusting term of the word. And the word in Chinese was nigger, and good for nothing. So these are the kind of things that people are dealing with. This is the insidious thing that people just don't get. And you know, I just gotta say, Micki, you have failed us. You have severely failed us. Because this should not be. We should not be in this day and age at this time dealing with this kind of crowd.
So not.
So, before we get to our next speaker, again, I'm going to have to ask to limit the applause because it just extends the time for us to get to the next speaker. So again, if you can use the finger waves, it is much appreciated. Also, while I personally don't mind comments directed at me individually, we do have a general
Supervisor Kim, I'm asking for 30 seconds to be not my 2 minutes. And I just want to say, in this hearing, SEIU 1021 should have been granted the same opportunity to give us at least a 15-minute presentation.
So, Ms. Jones, we did actually talk to SEIU about that. It was not requested, so we would have included it if we were asked.
Okay, thank you. All right, my name is Felicia Jones, and I work for San Francisco Sheriff's Department. And I'm not here to talk about the hiring practices. I'm here to talk about the racism, the discrimination, the retaliation, the hostile work environments that are going on with black workers at this very moment. I have been under distress with San Francisco Sheriff's Department trying to blackball me for 8 years. 8 years. No one should have to go through that type of trauma, that type of stress, in order to do their job. But the thing of it is, around this implicit bias training in which San Francisco City and County has, well, you know what? They only gave it to supervisors. I'm a supervisor considered. And you know what? No one is paying attention to that training. They're not taking that training seriously. While we, the black workers, we are under distress, we are being victimized, and while we're being victimized, our perpetrators are being promoted. Our perpetrators are being promoted. And not only are they being promoted, Supervisor Fear, because you are on it. You are on it. The thing of it is that this white privilege that they got going on up in here, it needs to stop. Black workers are educated, we have the expertise, and we are not allowed to do our jobs. San Francisco Sheriff's Department tore down a program, a very valuable program for transitional aged youth that I developed, that I had the community to buy into, and they tore it down because one of the biases that they have is the halo bias. And the halo bias is that if they like you, then you're okay. You're okay. But say if you are outspoken like me, then, oh yeah, we're out to get you. So the thing of it is, supervisors, that we need to stop on-the-job harassment, hostile work environment, and we need to stop it now, Supervisor Fear. Okay? Because you're going to lead the way. And I'm behind you. And when I'm behind you, I have a whole community behind you. Thank you.
Okay. I'm Harold Powell. I've been working for the city for 36 years in administrative services. I'm talking about the punishment of some of my employees when they have a skelly or stuff. The punishment is not fair with our black community, with the blacks. It seems that most of these skellies that I have been in, when it comes down to punishment for small errors and stuff, it's like a 3-week suspension, 2-week suspension, and then with some of the skellies, are you a likable person at this employee and you get in trouble, you know, it's a reprimand in your file. But I have felt the skellies that I have been in, the blacks are punished more and stricter than others are. And it's more if I have to fuss with HR to show that these punishments that the department are recommending does not fit the crime. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, all. My name is Theresa Rutherford. I'm one of the vice presidents of the local. I'm also a senior.
The beautiful community of Potrero Hill for 28 years. For those 28 plus years, I've gladly and proudly worked with the residents of Potrero Hill at the Potrero Hill Health Center. Although I have never lived in this community, I've always felt a part of this community. I've supported patients in navigating the oftentimes challenging healthcare system, and I've supported youth in navigating educational opportunities for their future. In my many ways, I've been a dedicated contributor and advocate for a marginalized public housing community. March 15th of this year, I was summoned to an office and told that I was going to be removed from the Potrero Hill Clinic. And I was told it was based on reorganization and my special skill set. After having to meet and confer with my union, I later learned that I was told I was being removed from it because of intimidation and fear. I received no due process, no investigation. When they did have an investigation, it was a bias investigation. And I also want to note that when I left the clinic, prior to this, receiving these anonymous letters, I had a stellar performance appraisal with no mention of intimidation and bias. So I was never treated fairly by the Department of Public Health. I'm not sure why they were allowed to move me and discriminated against me, but I think we need change and we need it now. And I think that it's not fair that Micki Callahan comes here and says that we have some problems, but we're doing a lot of good work when we are not heard. Black people in this city are not heard. We're discriminated against, we're harmed, and it's not fair what's happening, and we need you guys to make a change now.
Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, Board Member Kim. My name is Jeanette Steiner. I'd like to submit this petition from the Sunnydale residents for the record, please. I am not an entry-level worker. I am a nurse, a registered nurse of 27 years with a master's degree in nursing. También yo puedo comunicar con mis pacientes en otra lengua. I'm more than qualified. I'm overqualified. I do not have a criminal record. When I started with Department of Public Health Labor and Delivery in 1993, there were 3 African American nurses. I left to obtain more experience in 1998. In 2005, I returned, and there were still, I made the 3rd African American labor and delivery nurse. When I reported the discrimination that Black women birthing their babies were experiencing in labor and delivery, I was retaliated against. I voluntarily transferred to San Francisco Hope DPH ambulatory care, where I earned the trust of the community of Sunnydale, Black and brown, disenfranchised community members. Look, we all know that you don't get a nickname nursing nurse if you're not doing a good job. Well, nursing nurse was arbitrarily and capriciously transferred to Silver Avenue, told that I was not the right fit, whatever that means, very much like Cheryl Thornton. Transferred again to the pediatric urgent care. Granted, pediatrics is not my expertise. Labor and delivery is my expertise. And then it transferred again to the call center. These are examples of arbitrary, retaliatory, discriminatory practices utilized through the higher echelons to get rid of qualified employees that already exist now. I had to leave your corporate plantation, and move on. Please consider the abuse that African American employees experience who are already employed. Thank you.
All right. All right.
Good afternoon, my name is Nicole Christian. I want to point out my t-shirt. It says, I am Black and I matter. Please don't be fooled by human resources showing up with a wall of color. No disrespect, but don't be fooled by that. That does not represent us. This right here represents us. And we are discriminated against, we are held down, we are talked down to, and we are fired. I refuse to say we are released. We are fired. At 50% of all terminations are Black employees. It's not just us, we get it. We get it. We need you to get it. We need her to get it. We need the city and county to understand when you fire someone, you fire an entire family. You fire their income, their mortgage, their food on the table. You're not just releasing people. You are taking away their personality, their identity, their way of supporting themselves and their family. And Supervisor Brown and Supervisor Feuer, I thank you for giving me that direct eye contact while I am addressing you. I wish that there were more people here in this room that would address us with the same respect. Thank you for helping us in this fight.
Amen.
Good afternoon. My name is Kirk Johnson. I'm an employee at San Francisco General Hospital. And I'm not here to talk about how I was the 2604 food service worker, the first one in 8 years to be promoted from part-time to full-time in my department, while others of other races who are non-African American have been promoted from part-time to full-time. I'm not going to talk about or go into detail how I can't be trained in English because the person training me, the English isn't good enough where I can ask the appropriate questions and the person can give me the appropriate answers. But what I am here to talk about is how I was drinking coffee one morning, having coffee with another coworker about 5:45 in the morning before I start my shift, and the supervisor, Toni Kelly, comes up, digs in his nose, and wipes his boogers on my shirt. From the beginning to this day, it has been entirely wiped up under the carpet. His protection has come totally at my expense, totally at my expense. My pocket is suffering because of this supervisor's deeds. If what you permit, you promote. This type of action is promoted. It's permitted because it's promoted. And if nothing happens with the supervisor, grounds for dismissal is what's supposed to happen when you touch somebody. It was an unwanted touch. I don't play games like that. I'm a grown man. Had I been in some sort of had I been having a bad day, I might have done something else. Then I would be shipped directly to 850 Bryant with a bail so high that I wouldn't even be able to make bail. All this has happened at my expense. We need something to be done about what goes on, especially at San Francisco General Hospital. It hurts every day to come into that job. I had never been so humiliated in my life, so embarrassed. How do you tell somebody put boogers on you? We don't work in the sandbox. I know my time is up. We have other speakers, okay? But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Thank you.
I'm going to call, I see more than 15 people on the line, and I only call 15 names. So I'm going to call 15 other speaker cards. The reason why I ask you to respect the calling the speaker cards is
I'm Supervisor Feuer and the other supervisors who have sponsored today's hearing. I think the questions we need to ask of the city and DHR, why is it that 50% of the terminations last year were of African American workers? Why is it that 25% of probation releases were African American workers? Why is it that 40% of medical separations in the past 5 years were African American workers? Why? Why is it that 68% of African workers earn less than the average wage in the city? And why is it that these are the first classifications to be targeted when it's time, when the economy slows down? These are the classifications that get laid off. These are the classifications that get de-skilled. These are the classifications whose wages have been cut. Some of them are in this room who have earning $7 hours less than other people working right alongside them doing the exact same work. Why has the city not fixed that? Why has the city not fixed the legacy of the de-skilling that happened in 2008 and over 1,000 of our members still have not been made whole? So we're here today, and I can tell you why. It's because racism has been normalized in the workforce.
That's right.
It's normal now to treat African Americans disparately.
That's right.
right? And we're saying it has to stop. We are saying here today it's not normal, we are not going to take it anymore, and that it has to stop. But racism also has a price, not just to the victims, who some of them are here today. Racism also has a price to the residents of this city. The city has spent over $70 million in the last 10 years fighting discrimination lawsuits. That's $70 million that could have been used to expand city services. So we demand that the city, some of the folks that were unfairly treated and unfairly released, fired, some of them in this room, part of the process that needs to happen after today, some of them should be brought back.
That's right, that's right.
Some of them need to be made whole. We demand that the city create an independent body to oversee issues of race and equity, because the city has failed to police itself. We don't trust anymore that the city will police itself. We have no faith anymore.
Exactly.
And we also ask that it be compelled, that DHR compels all city departments to track data. Who's being hired, who's being fired, who's being promoted, who's being released from probation, who's being medically separated, and who's being hired. Because, like Joseph Bryan said earlier, they have been very reluctant to do that. And we're hoping that you tell them they have to.
That's
Thank
right,
you.
David. All right.
Good job, David.
Good afternoon, Board of Supervisors. My name is Aaron Kramer. I'm a registered nurse at San Francisco General Hospital, and I'm proudly standing here with my brothers and sisters of SEIU 1021 to make a stand against racism and discrimination in all forms. The motto of San Francisco General Hospital is to treat all patients with compassion and respect, and a lot of the times I feel that we can't achieve that goal if management can't even treat our employees that way. And I'm standing here today to represent a group of union members, 15 members that were laid off at the end of the fiscal year. These members are women, these members are minorities, and they were laid off as needed retirees, seen as making too much money or whatever you want to call it, but sure, they're Prop F, they're as needed, but the hospital has suffered a vacancy rate for RNs of 10% or more for several months now. We have a national nursing shortage, and it's the patients, it's the members of the public that depend on our hospital that suffer when we don't have nurses, boots on the ground to take care of them when they're injured or ill. And to lay off 15 nurses because they're retirees or they're older or whatever you want to say or whatever excuse you want to use, it's very upsetting. You know, racism, discrimination takes many shapes and forms. And so I'm standing with my brothers and sisters for everyone that has been intimidated, bullied, retaliated against. We're sick of it, and we're asking you to take a stand. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kramer. Next speaker.
Good afternoon. My name is James Harris, not James Ennis. My name is James Harris, not James Ennis. I worked for City and County of San Francisco for 16 years. I'm here today to let you know what my experience has been as a black city employee. While at work, a horrible accident happened, and I believe because of my race, I was forced to early retire or be fired. I was accused of hitting a person who was in a wheelchair. She was in a wheelchair. And after I hit her, she went to the hospital. And 2 days after her hospital admission, she died. Oh. The circumstances around my case is simple. I was going 15 miles an hour while making a left-hand turn. She appeared on my right side, on my left hand, side by a stationary bus. Her wheelchair was rolling toward me. We couldn't, where she couldn't stop. She ended up on the hood of my car, and then hit the ground. There was an investigation consisted in the incident, and went to a trial. It went to a trial. And at the trial, 12 of my peers heard the case that the prosecutor was putting forth. My 12 peers said I was not guilty of all charges. All charges. What I'm asking the board to do now is reinstate me and give me back my job like they should do.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Madeline McMillan, and I work for the San Francisco Police Department. I've been working there for 25 years. I was in an accident and was off work. Prior to me being in this accident, there was a young white police officer that was brought into my unit because she was working on light duty. Once I left due to my accident, when I came back to work, she had taken over my whole desk, all my duties. She was now doing everything that I did. I went to my lieutenant to request my duties back because I am a secretary. She was a police officer. Nothing happened. They just kind of like brushed me under the rug and told me that they would investigate. Nothing happened. So I went to the captain and asked him for my jobs back. I was just in the office doing nothing for the whole 8 hours of the day. Nothing happened. I went to the commander and requested my duties back. The commander made a comment that normally people come in here to see me because they have too much work. I've never had anyone come to me and ask for their jobs back. They wanted work. So to make a long story short, I filed a complaint for discrimination. Once the complaint went through, I got removed from my desk. I was moved down the hall into an isolated area where no one was, and I was there all by myself. That was retaliation to me. And so I got a reply back from Micki Callahan saying that there was no merit to my discrimination or retaliation. I also have a letter.
Thank you, Mr. Phillip, and yes, you can submit that letter to the committee, and we'll take it.
Steve Zeltzer, United Public Workers for Action. I think we've seen already from the testimony and the evidence, particularly Patrick Monahan, that is made, is that there's systemic racism in San Francisco. This is not news.
That's right.
This has gone on for decades. In fact, the city has paid out tens of millions of dollars with the vote of the Board of Supervisors for settlements. And yet, the supervisors and managers still continue to work for the city and county of San Francisco. Micki Callahan talks about dealing with racism and discrimination, yet the same people who do it are promoted, are executives. What kind of accountability is that? Additionally, the police department has ordered one of its officers not to appear here to testify. And this police officer can testify about the racist texting that's gone on and the cover-up in the police department. Why is the police department allowed to avoid this hearing of what's going on in the city and county of San Francisco? Why? We have to say that there's a pattern, a systemic pattern of racism, a systemic pattern of terrorism against African employees, and part of it is the privatization of jobs and outsourcing. They want to privatize the pharmacy department and general hospital. They want to outsource. They want all temporary workers so they can further discriminate. Public workers have been a way that working people, African American Latinos, have gotten ahead, and they want to destroy all that. That's what's going on with privatization. And I have to add that the mayor of San Francisco says that she wants to do something. She wants to deal with racism and discrimination. You start with the top. You start with the top. When people commit racist and illegal acts, they have to be held accountable. What they do is they blame the victim. They blame the people that have been assaulted. That is absolutely wrong. That has to come to an end. And this is not over. This hearing is just one-shot deal. It's a one-shot deal because the systemic racism is not going to end with this hearing. Thank you, brothers and sisters.
My name is Delfino Harvey. I'm a licensed vocational nurse at the San Francisco County Jails and County Jail 2. And I'm here to speak about the racism that happens with our management in the nursing department, how when I went on workers' comp, the manager, Imelda Prado, wanted to give my job to a new employee because she told her I wasn't coming back. How do you figure I'm not coming back? No one said that I was not coming back. Then she wants to say, oh, she's intimidated by me, the management. How are you going to be intimidated by me when you can ask me my personal business about who I'm having sex with in the jail, and that's none of your damn business what I have going on. You're not intimidated. What the problem is that I speak up for myself and the people that cannot speak up for themselves in my jail. The other issues that we're having is that they don't hire African Americans in our jail. They always say they don't apply for the jobs. They weren't qualified when a lot of them are overqualified because I sent some of my RN friends that's in Sacramento to come up and work at the county jails, and they were denied. I sent some LVNs to come apply for it, and they were denied. So it's a problem within San Francisco City and County that they need to deal with these middle managements that's doing the hiring. Take away that hiring from those middle managers like Imelda Prado. Yeah, I'm calling that. No, I'm calling that. Thank you.
I just want to make another announcement. If you are in the overflow room at North Lakeport, there is actually room now in the chamber if you want to come in to be inside the chamber. I also want to thank President Cohen, who just appointed Supervisor Fewer to our committee as well.
Good afternoon, supervisors. My name is Brandon Dawkins, and I am a health worker at Laguna Honda Hospital. I'm also the chief shop steward for the Community Public Health Chapter for SEIU 1021. Although I do have my own documented experiences of racism, stuff that I've witnessed, fellow brothers and sisters that have came to the defense in meetings to help save some of their jobs, and unfortunately some of them couldn't do it because of the systematic racism that's going on in the city and county in San Francisco. I have tons of documentation about that. However, I want to speak today from a colleague of mine who's wrote a letter and cannot be here today. His name is Dr. Justin Morgan. The letter reads this. My name is Dr. Justin Morgan, and I am the only African-American male primary care physician in the health department's community-based clinics. I have received awards from the Board of Supervisors and the Mayor's Office for my dedication to the health of the people of San Francisco, and was elected by the San Francisco voters for the California State Democratic Party Central Committee. When I apply for a senior management position with the health department, I know I get turned down from the promotion because of favoritism, cronyism, and nepotism behind the biased hiring practices of our department. I hold in my hand the current and the past list of applicants for Oakland medical director positions with the department. My name is on both lists, and I know, like the last time, I will not be called to the interview for certain positions because DPH hiring managers have already decided on who they wanted to hire before the list even came out. Now, if you ask the health department about this, they will say it's not true. But if you investigate the health department, you'll find that it is. Unfair and biased hiring decisions being long made before the jobs are even posted, before the applications are even reviewed. Most of the departments, whenever you walk into the clinic, whenever you walk into the hospital, the janitorial staff is Chinese or the medical record staff is Filipino, and the complaints are going nowhere. As Barbara Garcia's resignation demonstrates, if you investigate the health department as a whole, you'll find that it's truth and racism from the top to the bottom. What DPH needs is an inspector general or a private investigator with such claims can determine if it's true and root out the favoritism, cronyism, and nepotism. What DPH needs to do...
Would you be able to submit the letter to the committee so that we can have it as part of our file?
Yes.
Thank you.
What DPH needs to do is take the hiring out of the hands of the managers and place the hiring in the hands of independent hiring office who specialize in hiring qualified doctors, nurses, and social workers, and not family and friends. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Gail Birdsong, and I'm an SEIU rep for the city and county workers here in San Francisco. Formerly, I was a rep in Solano County, and I was brought here to help resolve the issue regarding the racism and discrimination against the workers here in San Francisco, amongst other issues. But not only am I a rep for SEIU workers, I was born here, I was raised here. My father retired from this city, who has now passed away. I have a host of family members that still work here in Department of Housing, San Francisco General Hospital, and Muni, and a lot of other places here in the city, so I do have a vested interest in this city. Also, and most profoundly, I'm an African-American woman and who has been discriminated against on the job and off the job. Last night, I attended one of my first general membership meetings here in San Francisco with these employees. Some of the stories I heard were disturbing, of course, regarding discrimination against them. It reminded me of some of the stories my father told me about in the 60s when he worked here in San Francisco, how he was treated like a second-class citizen. So it's just really disturbing that in this day and age, this is still going on in this city, the city I grew up in, I was born in, and I've been gone for 30 years, only to come back and see that the same things are still happening. I'm glad to be here as a union rep to help resolve some of these issues. I am passionate about it. I hope some of these employees call me on it because I will fight for them 100% if I am called. One of the stories that really disturbed me last night in the general membership meeting were many employees kept bringing up the Director of Human Resources name, and there are avenues to resolve these issues when they complain. They go to her and they are pretty much gaslighted, and it's swept under the carpet and turned around on them, and they are in turn disciplined. So that's something I believe that needs to be resolved here, and I am passionate about helping, I'm passionate about being here and helping resolve this issue. Thank you.
Just one thing. So we have this meeting scheduled till 1 o'clock, everybody, which is 30 minutes, and you can see the line here. So if we can try to be mindful of that, just to make sure everybody has the opportunity to say the words, so if we can try to be as concise as possible. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My main concerns are the discriminatory and retaliatory treatment that I suffered due to my race and my federally protected disability status. My name is Mallory Branch. I am a native of San Francisco, born and raised. I am a wife, a mother, a daughter, and a sister. I have a bachelor's degree in social work from Texas Southern University. I have a master's degree in social work from San Francisco State University. I was a 2940 protective service worker for the city and county of San Francisco. Not only that, but during my internship, I interned with the city and county of San Francisco. So I went through their internship to know exactly what it is that I needed to do as a 2940 protective service worker. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit about my experience once I was hired for the city and county of San Francisco. First of all, I left a rewarding job in San Joaquin County as a child welfare worker to come work for the city of San Francisco, where I wanted to work for since I was 8 years old, and give back to the forgotten communities, the oppressed communities, because I do know what it's like to be on the other side of receiving services. When you come from a family of 9 and you're living in public housing, you know what the experience is like. So it was always my desire as a little girl to give back to this community. I experienced on the job racism, targeted bullying from my supervisor and things of that nature. And I'll leave you guys with this. I had an accident where I was rear-ended in a county vehicle. I was rear-ended, I was injured. I left for medical leave. I had 2 weeks till my probation was up. They fired me, as one of my sisters said. They didn't release me from termination, from probation. They fired me. They let me go. They didn't call me. They didn't check on me. They didn't follow up to make sure that I was okay from doing the work. They fired me. How many social workers do we have that are black working for the city and county of San Francisco? This is very alarming.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Awesome. Thank you for listening. I thank God that you guys are here listening, and thank you guys for touching base.
Good afternoon. My name is Ida McCray. I work for the San Francisco Sheriff's Department. I am formerly incarcerated. I am presently educated. I have master's degrees. And in that, this is a window of opportunity. We can each get into our own issues that we've had, from bullying, from people turning on the lights where you sit, and demanding who can be trained and where they can be trained, and the push out when you complain. But I beg this committee to start doing something about this. I am born and raised here. My parents came here looking for the warmth of other suns, and we found a different type of sun, and that is liberalism in an umbrella, and we need to stop. If there's no such thing as race, and it's already been scientifically proven that there is no such thing as race, let's act like it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Greetings. My name is Yafa. I am an activity therapist at Laguna Honda Hospital, 3 of 30 activity therapists who are of African descent. I'm here to speak not only about my disappointment, but more so my disgust about the discrimination and racism, as well as the lack of accountability and lack of responsibility by the people who have the authority and power to provide the appropriate care for the residents at Laguna Honda. There is about 30% of the residents that are of African descent, and I'd like to bring to your attention about 2 situations that occurred, one for me personally. I have taken it upon myself to learn how to speak Cantonese and work on the Cantonese unit to be able to engage with the residents and speak fluently with them to provide them with the quality of life and care that they deserve. Yet and still, I was discouraged to participate on a employee-run committee, the African American Committee for Black History Month. That is not okay. If all of my performance reviews are excelling above and beyond, when there are Asian activity therapists who do not work on the Asian unit, and I do that. Secondly, more recently, as of last Thursday, I came back to my unit to only find one of the residents that I care for sitting at a table that she does not usually sit at. It was not her designated area. And right before her was a piece of paper that indicated what is Regina spelled backwards. Write it down and you'll see for yourself. It says a nigger. That is not okay for a resident who has dementia, who cannot retain the information to speak, to say who put that in front of her, to move it from her, but was in tears. I took it upon myself to remove that piece of paper, bring it to the attention of management. It's now gone to the chief nursing director, and what has been determined is that another resident who has dementia, who is also of African descent, provided that to the one resident. That is ridiculous. That is not okay when signatures were compared and it was shown that it was a staff member who did that.
Good afternoon. My name is Rudy Gonzales, and I'm with the San Francisco Labor Council. We represent over 140 unions in the city, and many of which have delegates here in support of SEIU 10-1. I first want to say that calling out injustice is the first step. So I commend the committee and Supervisor Fewer here today on your leadership to do that. I'm not talking at you, but you represent an institution that has executive management that are in control of some of these systemic problems. You're hearing about the symptoms. People are speaking out. People are rising up. And together as a union, SEIU 10-1, much like Local 21 and TWU and other groups and collectives of workers, they have some power as workers. And they will try their best, and we will stand with them in this city and county to hold people accountable. But we don't have all the power. We don't have the power of the mayor's office. We don't have the power of the Board of Supervisors. And that's why these types of hearings, while they may be frustrating and it may be difficult to face some of these realities, we have to take this first step and we have to take it further, because we've heard about recruitment, we've heard about hiring today. And while some of these measures, when you compare them to our own past here, may seem like improvements, it's not enough. And what workers have said outside in the halls today and in the steps and in this chamber is, enough is enough. But there's not enough happening. We need more. We need more accountability, more transparency. And when I think about the struggle of our disenfranchised communities and our neighborhoods and the struggle we've had with law enforcement and community, and I think about the independent oversight people yearn for out of a police commission, and then I look at the Civil Service Commission, and it doesn't look like this room.
That's right.
It doesn't look like the people that are in the rank and file, that are struggling to get promoted and that are struggling to advance. So we do have some systems we can improve, and we have some real tangible things that can be done. And I don't, as just an individual, I don't believe Micki Callahan has all that power. I believe there is a system in place here and a structure that supports some of this systemic racism, and we have to address it. And as a labor movement, this has to be one of our priorities. So we stand in solidarity with SEIU 10-1, and for all workers who feel like they're oppressed or silenced. And we also stand in solidarity with those who have felt retaliated just for telling their story. So we commend you for your courage. Thank you, Supervisor.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. My name is Demetrius Cuttino, and excuse me. My name is Demetrius Cuttino, and I work for the City and County of San Francisco in their water treatment facilities. As you see, this is a systemic throughout the whole city. I filed a complaint with DHR, EEO. The officer that took that complaint in essence, threw it in the garbage because he never filed it. And then he strung me along telling me he was investigating it when he wasn't. And his last comment to me was, well, you're the only one complaining. And why should that even make a difference? I think and I ran into one, I ran into one white lawyer after another when I was talking to them about this, and they don't seem to have the sensibilities of what it means to be discriminated against and what discrimination is. Complaints will go in, it's like a black hole. Complaints will go in and they don't come out. They don't deal with them, they don't investigate them, and this is something that needs to be looked at. I mean, the city's hiring lawyers all the time. What's wrong with the person that has a master's, a bachelor's, that has went to school for HR or EEO? I mean, you know, these lawyers seem to be representing management and the city and sweeping things under the rug, and something needs to be done about it.
That's right, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before the next speaker comes up, because I've again seen that more people have lined up than I've called, I'm going to call the next round of cards as well. Toni Kelly, Korea Pierce, Estelle Ford, Michelle Pierce, Keith Baraka, Daniel Becker, Kristen Hardy, Raphael Picasso, thank you, Darla Brown, Carol Tatum, Rosalind Butler, Kirk Giles, and Twanda Bailey. Thank you.
Good morning, colleagues and supervisors. My name is Evelyn Coryell, and I'm the Executive Board of our Union 10-1, as well as Vice Chapter of our Union and our department. Also, I work for City and County Transit Car Cleaner. And I started working here as a custodian, but first the retaliation, harassment, discrimination had been started by my late husband working here. Didn't want him to pass probation, so therefore he quit for those retaliation and harassment that did it to him. He was a professional supervisor from Kaiser Hospital, but then when they come aboard, everything just come loose. As a custodian before, I have an accident just like one of our colleagues in here. I got rear-ended, but since they said the bus or the van I was driving was, damaged, real bad, it's not gonna be in the service no more, and it cost, they said $60,000, and my life is not that much, so I was laid off for 2 days. And despite of that one, and we have a problem with the union at that time, I don't have that much good representation, so therefore I want to be as a union rep for myself, and hopefully helping everybody not to get into my shoes that I have right now. But then, even though I'm here right now and keep going to get for more, a better job, I was being denied for the position. I went to school and supposed to be getting reimbursement so that I can have all my experience and things. I was being denied. Even though I was in the list for 4 years, the only woman in the list, I was being denied and discriminated for the position. And then now that I'm a union rep and still fighting for all of this one, Supervisor called me as the troublemaker. Every time I go to the meeting, that's my nickname now. I'm proud to that name, but you know what? Call me for the discrimination because all of the problem that the managers created is the one we have to, solve. And it's not just only the management have the problem though, also the upper part.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm addressing the City and County of San Francisco. My name is Estelle. My name is Estelle Yancey. I'm a former employee who actually left the city in 2013 under stress and duress and racism from a current boss. My question now is, I know for a fact that there is difference in the city's behavior in treating African American individuals. Myself as being a woman, I asked to be reinstated, and I got several letters from your personnel department saying they made a business decision. My question to that group is, my job is a highly technical job. It was to treat the water for 3.2 million customers, and it's a job that takes time to learn. So when I'm asking to be reinstated, they're saying that it's a business decision, and I thought that business decisions were made under the guise of how lucrative something is. So if you're gonna take a person off the list that has never worked in the position over somebody who comes highly trained and was a supervisor and already knows the job, I can't see where that's a business decision, especially with the fact that all whites before me, male and female, were allowed to do this 2 and 3 times, and I have the evidence. So my question is, why am I continually applying for a job that I left under stress and duress? It can only be retaliation at this point. And I'm still applying, and this has been since 2013, and I could come and do that job today with no hassle. So I'm just asking for, why am I being treated differently? Why? And you can have this paperwork.
We'll take all of that in our file. Thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to speak out about discrimination, racism, and harassing retaliatory actions against Black and brown workers at the Department of Public Health. My name is John Wadsworth. I'm a Union 1021 member, Vice President of SFGA's chapter, and a city pharmacy tech worker at the Trauma 1 level San Francisco General Hospital. I'm the healthcare worker that makes the IV medications during the graveyard shift, often for those life-threatening emergencies that come to our hospital. The discrimination, harassment, and retaliatory actions against people of color being led by the Administrative Pharmacy Officer of San Francisco General Hospital Pharmacy Services is impacting the delivery of services in a very negative way. I'm here today to advocate for patient care and report to you that the anti-union initiatives have been nefarious and reckless. It has led to an incestuous amplification of professional misconduct and led to a hostile working environment that has had bullying, harassing, retaliating, and discriminatory actions against Black and brown city workers at SFGH. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, all. My name is Larry Stevens. I worked for the City and County of San Francisco for 28 years. I'm retired now, and I'm happy that I'm retired because it's rampant. Everything my brothers and sisters have said is true. It's like a gentleman right here stated that it starts at the top. So if there's no accountability because the supervisors are doing this and they're being promoted and we're being demoted. So the way the system works here is that people of color, blacks especially, we are the last hired and the first fired. That's always been the fact. It's nothing to grin about here. There were certain people in here that were in high positions that were grinning about this stuff. It's very serious. It's like one of the sisters said, you're dealing with our livelihoods, our mortgages, our children, the future, and if there's going to be change, it has to start at the top. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jessica Brown and I work for the Department of Public Health. I won't go into details. You've heard it all about what's been happening in this city. I think the evidence is pretty clear. I just want to speak on the fact that, I am new to the city of San Francisco. I came from state services, and I've always seen San Francisco as progressive in its policies, from your ordinance that you pass on sexual orientation and gender identity, to your stance on your ordinance for gay marriage. San Francisco has always been a place that leads the way for the rest of California to act. Unfortunately, discrimination against Black and African Americans and Latinos is not a new thing. It's happening throughout the entire state of California, especially in government. And so it saddens me that coming to this city, I came here because of how progressive San Francisco has been, and it saddens me to see that the same issues are happening as they have been with the state. My ask of you all today is to really take a serious stance on these issues, hearing what people have been saying, understanding that it's not just, as the data may suggest, that there's a great way of hiring African Americans. Unfortunately, with the stories that you have been told, the retaining of this talented and diverse workforce is not going to happen. There are people that are coming into the city, coming in at lower steps, being paid at a lower salary, and have higher education, have had several years of work experience. But when I'm talking about specifically African American women, I know at least several of them that have had to fight for step increase for their salary, even though their qualifications surpass their peers compared to their white counterparts. And so this is just more than just people upset and being passionate about these issues. This has actually happened to them as far as like their wealth and how they are able to advance within the city. And again, me being a new person here, I don't have all the years of experience as my other counterparts that have come up here and gracefully spoke about this issue. But the fact of the matter is that I'm still seeing it as a new person, and that if this continues to happen, you will not retain a talented and diverse workforce, which will ultimately impact the city and the communities that you're trying to serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Brown.
Hi, my name is Amihan Makayan. I'm sorry, Millman. Don't tell my husband. I am a staff from Local 21, and I stand in solidarity and shared outrage with SEIU. Thank you so much for bringing this issue to the forefront. As a representative of the union, I wanted to just share that I've had many experiences where promotion opportunities, probationary release, and I know that discrimination was at play. I do want to share with you, Jessica Brown, who was here in front of me, has alluded to it. In the past year, there are 6 cases in one department where I became aware of people coming in people of color coming in on a lower salary step. This is really problematic because 6 of those people are all people of color, and 5 of them are African American employees. 3 of them have already resolved it, and we're working on a couple of them, but it's not acceptable to have 6 for 1 staff to deal with in the last year. It's outrageous and should not be acceptable to the city of San Francisco. I think we can do better. I know we must do better. We should be a leader on this, and I think SEIU and its workers. One of my members told me once, you know, when you're black or brown, you go into a room and you expect to be discriminated. So you work harder, you fight harder, and so I appreciate everybody who's come here to speak their voice, because I know it's not very easy, and we hope that you will. Thank you for having this hearing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tawanda Bailey. I started working for the San Francisco District Attorney's Office in 2001. Well, in 2015, my coworker called me a scary nigger. I reported to my immediate supervisor the next day because I was scared to report it because I saw what happened to the other 2 African American girls that looked like me, anything pertaining to the individual that called me the scary nigger. Well, I also met with the city HR with my union rep. Later, down the line, I received a letter from Micki Callahan saying that she wasn't gonna investigate my allegations. I had a press conference 2016, and what the city put on the news was that while we acknowledge the extreme offensiveness of the N-word, one comment is not sufficiently enough to cause a hostile work environment. Well, they can't tell me what caused the hostile work environment, because if I would have reacted after she called me the nigger, I would be an A50 right now. Okay? So I walked away from the situation. They did no investigation in-house. The city HR didn't do an investigation. What happened was, after I reported this, after I filed an EEOC complaint, after I went into the HR manager's office and asked for a copy of the complaint/report, the HR manager went ballistic on me. And after that, I was harassed every day. I was placed in a hostile work environment. I was retaliated against in my evaluation. And in December 2015, my doctor took me off because I would have died there because my health had deteriorated. I went from taking no medications to 6 different medications. And I tried to go back to work only to be re-traumatized by the city and county of San Francisco. So now my doctor
able to advance within the city. And again, me being a new person here, I don't have all the years of experience as my other counterparts that have come up here and gracefully spoke about this issue. But the fact of the matter is that I'm still seeing it as a new person, and that if this continues to happen, you will not retain a talented and diverse workforce, which will ultimately impact the city and the communities that you're trying to serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Brown.
Hi, my name is Micki Callahan. Millman. Don't tell my husband. I am a staff from Local 21, and I stand in solidarity and shared outrage with SEIU. Thank you so much for bringing this issue to the forefront. As a representative of the union, I wanted to just share that I've had many experiences where promotion opportunities, probationary release, and I know that discrimination was at play. I do want to share with you, Jessica Brown, who was here in front of me, has alluded to it. In the past year, there are 6 cases in one department where I became aware of people coming in, people of color coming in on a lower salary step. This is really problematic because 6 of those people are all people of color, and 5 of them are African American employees. 3 of them have already resolved it, and we're working on a couple of them, but it's not acceptable to have 6 for 1 staff to deal with in the last year. It's outrageous and should not be acceptable to the city of San Francisco. I think we can do better. I know we must do better. We should be a leader on this, and I think SEIU and its workers. One of my members told me once, You know, when you're black or brown, you go into a room and you expect to be discriminated. So you work harder, you fight harder. And so I appreciate everybody who's come here to speak their voice, because I know it's not very easy. And we hope that you will, thank you for having this hearing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tawanda Bailey. I started working for the San Francisco District Attorney's Office in 2001. Well, in 2015, my coworker called me a scary nigger. I reported it to my immediate supervisor the next day because I was scared to report it because I saw what happened to the other 2 African-American girls that looked like me, anything pertaining to the individual that called me the scary nigger. Well, I also met with the city HR with my union rep. Later, down the line, I received a letter from Micki Callahan saying that she wasn't gonna investigate my allegations. I had a press conference 2016, and what the city put on the news was that while we acknowledge the extreme offensiveness of the N-word, one comment is not sufficiently enough to cause a hostile work environment. Well, they can't tell me what caused the hostile work environment, because if I would have reacted after she called me the nigger, I would be an A50 right now. Okay? So I walked away from the situation. They did no investigation in-house. The city HR didn't do an investigation. What happened was, after I reported this, after I filed an EEOC complaint, after I went into the HR manager's office and asked for a copy of the complaint/report, the HR manager went ballistic on me. And after that, I was harassed every day. I was placed in a hostile work environment. I was retaliated against in my evaluation. And in December 2015, my doctor took me off because I would have died there because my health had deteriorated. I went from taking no medications to 6 different medications. And I tried to go back to work only to be re-traumatized by the city and county of San Francisco. So now my doctor wrote the letter in June to retire me out, retirement disability. I'm done mentally, physically, I'm damaged because of the city. And the way they made me feel is that, so what, you was called a nigger, keep working nigger and shut up. That's how I felt. I was mistreated and I was tortured at the San Francisco District Attorney Office, and this girl is still working, and I had to live without no income.
Hi, Supervisors. My name is Skylar Hudak, and first of all, I am so proud to stand here today with the men and women of SEIU 1021. They are the most incredible individuals. I also want to say thank you to each of you. Thank you, Supervisor Brown, Supervisor Huerth, Supervisor Kim, for convening this. I know that you're doing this because you want to take action and you want to find solutions. I want to talk about those solutions. As someone who serves on the board of the Foundation for SF General Hospital, the nurses recently came to us and applied for a grant to fund positions and scholarships for African American nurses to go get their nursing degrees and track them for jobs at SF General. Those are the kinds of solutions that are actually going to make a difference. I also want to acknowledge one of the youngest members of our delegation here today. I believe his name is Omalakai. He will very soon be sitting in your seats, leading all of us. And I think one of the most important things that we can do is to find solutions like this, scale them throughout the city. These are the kinds of solutions that are going to make a difference. These are the kinds of solutions that are going to make sure that there are jobs and opportunities, not just the existing jobs, but future jobs for kids and soon to be young leaders of our city like Omalakai. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Supervisors, including my Supervisor, Valley Brown. I'm very happy to be here in front of all of you. My name is Tammy Bryant. I'm an SEIU 1021 steward and a San Francisco Labor Council delegate. I'm here because I've worked for the city for 5 years and have witnessed firsthand constant discrimination against my black colleagues. I've seen it in the hiring or the lack thereof. Because of it, in the hiring, this means many black workers are not even getting their foot in the door. I've seen it in the lack of promotions for my black colleagues. I've seen the eligible list with names of qualified colleagues who don't get the promotions they've applied for. Not only is this wrong for my colleagues and their right to a decent livelihood, but it's bad for the public we serve. They do not staff my agency to coincide with the public we serve. This results in a lack of cultural competency and a lack of delivering the best service possible to the public. My agency treats their jobs as a career path stepping stone, hiring and promoting the ones they deem easiest to supervise and control. They do not value delivering the best service possible. My own friend, who is black, was unfairly fired. So she's lost her job, a young mother of two. As been stated earlier, this discrimination, as I stated earlier, results in a lack of quality services and in these settlements that keep costing the taxpayers money due to inept management. My agency is supposed to be participating in the Equity Initiative through the Human Rights Commission, but there's been no transparency in the process. They cherry-picked who they want on the committee. They're not interviewing us. They're not disseminating information to us. To me, they're not even making a meaningful effort to do the important work. So when you hear about the Human Services Agency and their equity initiative, please know it's very suspect. It is not getting the transparency and the work's not being done. No one's talked to me, no one's talked to my coworkers. They cherry-picked who they want, and nothing's gonna change. It's gonna look good on paper, but it's not gonna be real change. And I just wanna make sure that you know I'm here supporting my black colleagues, because these complaints and what they're stating is true. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Kristen Hardy. I'm an SEIU shop steward. I also work at San Francisco General Hospital, Department of Public Health. I did have something written that I did want to say, but it's been a couple of other comments that I think I'll kind of address. First and foremost, let me just say, you know, we've been saying a lot about human resources, HR, and labor relations. There are a few good employees that have been trying to work with us to rectify the issues that us city and county employees have endured. So I just want to recognize all you guys that I do see here today that have taken time out to hear us. And also the Board of Supervisors, I really appreciate you guys for taking this time. So number one, it was brought up by the director of HR about the de-identification. I just want to bring that to the forefront, that was 1021 that brought that to the attention of them, and we brought that skill in. So she's taking credit for something that we brought to their attention, just like we're bringing this issue to the attention of the Board of Supervisors today. I'm here really representing a lot of my coworkers that are in fear of speaking up due to retaliation. I work in the medical records department at the San Francisco General Hospital. I have an operations manager that was put in place due to, one, for HR not keeping the job classification open long enough to get a qualified pool of candidates. So basically the one that we ended up with basically was because the one that she was going against couldn't answer half the questions. So we had two candidates and neither one of them were actually qualified. This one manager that I'm speaking of, I had to represent an employee, not an African American, but it's fully the whole minority community that's suffering, but you know, it is us, African Americans especially. I had to represent one of my coworkers where a chair was physically pulled from underneath her by this manager. We had a nurse that works with our CDI team that quit because this manager was racial and making racial remarks towards our staff members. We are asking you guys to listen. The Board of Supervisors, come to our union hall, come to 1021 and set up a meeting with us, hear us. Please work with us. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sasha Cutler from San Francisco General Hospital. It is not Zuckerberg General Hospital. And when I spoke out about that, I learned what it's like to not be white. Because I started to get a whole other kind of treatment from administration at the hospital. When I spoke out about Facebook's unethical research practices and about how that was a threat to our patient population, here's what happened. Even when I tried to do something good, I came to speak at a meeting of about 60, 70, mostly managers there, and there was a presentation about sexual orientation and gender identity. and a training that I was invited to speak about. So I spoke afterwards and I said, I just want to say that I am proud that my union, all these brothers and sisters here, are supporting this, and administration wants the same thing because they're letting me do this, teach this class. The chief nurse of the hospital stood up afterwards and said, and I quote, "This is not a union business meeting and we don't want or need your support." It's very important to know that what happened after that was, I'm nearly in tears and everybody in the room sits there in stunned silence. That's what happened. My supervisor comes to me and says, "How did you feel about that?" And I said, how would you feel if somebody shamed you like that? So even when we try to do something together to work out something, they will punish you. And if it wasn't for the fact that I'm older, I'm white, and I've got the union behind me, I would have been fired. They just would have taken me out of there. So that's the reality of what it's like to be an ally. If you're an ally, you find out real quick what happens. Thank you.
Thank you, Board of Supervisors, Phila, Brown, and Kim. My name is Ellen Lee Zhao. I am a behavioral health clinician for public health for more than 10 years. I am a bargaining team member and a union delegate for public employees. The federal agents has been investigating management corruption for many years. We have many members spoke to the FBI since 2011. I was one of the workers spoke with the FBI agents for management corruption, extortion, bribery. Many public employees have been coming to civil services commissions to report extortion, discrimination, harassment, retaliation. Many public employees protest in December 2015, 2016, 2017, and 2018 ongoingly for discrimination, harassment, and in workplaces throughout the city, especially target minority, women, African American, Asian women, and Latinos. I myself testify in front of the civil commissioners many times for discrimination, harassment, extortion, and bribery, and retaliation. For example, August 15, 2016, September 18, 2017, and many other occasions. On behalf of the union, I have brought 5 public employees file complaints for extortion, and retaliation, but our file has been missing from the ethics commissions. And we were told they never received it. 6 people, we still work for the city. Unfortunately, 2 months ago, one passed away because of this. Yet, Board of the Supervisors, many of you can have the opportunity to make this correction and protect our city and city workers. We all deserve to work together and treated equally with respect and equity. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Estelle Ford, and I work for the San Francisco Department of Public Health, and I'm here in solidarity today with my Black African American brothers and sisters. I'm also the Healthcare Professionals Chapter President for Local 21. For 15 years, I was a SEIU 10-to-1 member, and I'm so proud of my brothers and sisters for having the courage to bring this issue to you today and for your response and really listening to the concerns of city employees. I guess I would like to speak to the fact that a lot of my colleagues are suffering. The issue of racism and discrimination is an issue of power, privilege, and resources, and who has them, and who are the decision makers. I've worked for the city and county for 20 years, and I have seen a lot of people being passed up for promotions. We're encouraged to continue our education, and then we don't have promotional opportunities. I started in the health department as a health worker, and I'm now a health program coordinator and still striving to get another promotion. I just think that you really need to look at the hiring practices, the retention, working closely with HR, and have people that are impacted by these decisions at the table. We're asking for solutions, but solutions can't be made in a room with a closed door when there's only 5 people in the room that have no understanding of how this impacts people's lives. We all go home, we're suffering, we're scared. A lot of people are suffering from anxiety and are afraid to come to work, or just, don't know what to expect. So I take heed to, I want you to take heed to their concerns and see all of us as human beings, and really reach out to your compassion and your response to these issues.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Karen Pierce. I'm a native San Franciscan, a homeowner. I've been working at the Department of Public Health for 20 years now. I previously worked for the city in the former Department of Social Services and the Police Department. I have witnessed racism through all of those years, but what I'm witnessing now is so much worse than I've ever seen before. While DPH has adopted a number of projects to address racism and equity, the culture has not changed. And there's no indication that the culture is going to change. So when you get responses, and the responses are what we're doing, there may be a lot of money being spent on it, but it is not having a difference in the culture that we have to live in. Development of solutions to this problem cannot be left in the hands of the executive staff that exists right now. You've heard that, The personal descriptions that have been given also prove that. If we are going to get to solutions, number one, power and authority must be given to line staff, to other staff members to come in and to develop these changes that are necessary, and that will help us move forward. And finally, to show you what the ultimate impact is on our communities, the people we serve, our residents, just check the health status in Bayview Hunters Point and the millions of dollars we spend every year, and we have not seen any improvement.
Right.
How y'all doing? How everybody doing? My name is Queen Vanessa Banks. I'm a born native here of San Francisco. I'm 48, I'm not 28. And so I'm really pissed off because I was employed with San Francisco Park and Rec for 6 years. And so I'm gonna have to switch over to racism. What is racism? Because you got more black folks in here doing the black folks wrong than you got anybody else in here doing us wrong. So if we gonna talk about something, we gonna talk about everything. You understand? Because see, it's 2 types of coons. You got an educated coon that think they know it all. Then you got an uneducated coon that don't know much of nothing. Well, I'm both. And I'm sick of it. I had to quit my job from Park and Rec from being bullied for 6 years. I'm the only one out there doing something, and you got somebody like Jackie Battle, you put her in whatever category you want to put her in. Didn't even acknowledge me after I sit there and do everything out there in Hunters Point without no pay, without no money. But then when they killed Mario Woods, I said something. I wasn't on their payroll that day. I wasn't in their uniform that day, and they've been blackballing me ever since, so I quit. Because see, let me tell you something, I'm hood, and I do retaliation. And you ain't scaring me, and I'm not running and go make no report, which I did go to EOC. I went to the union. I went to HR department and Park and Rec, never heard nothing from them. So you know what they done pushed me to? CCFF, because I just on my way to get my degrees, a 2, a 3, because see, I'm just not about that life that's gonna keep coming down here complaining to y'all. Y'all know what this city doing to us. And the black folks in position know what they doing to us. But like I told London Breed when she was the president, and Malia Corny, you want to talk about the top? She ain't no better. She started blackballing me too. I asked her for some donations for the 2016 summer kickoff that I do for the kids. Yeah, I do, along with partnership. She didn't even donate no much as some water to the kids. So if you're going to start to the top, these black folks need to quit picking and choosing who they want to work with, who they want to do stuff for, because like I said before, if nothing don't move and shake out here for us, ain't nothing going to move.
Good afternoon, my name is Rosalind Butler, and I'm glad I can come here and speak to the supervisor, so Ms. Fuhrer, and I remember you from the school district. I worked at the school district for 12.5 years, and I remember you too, Jane Kim. So, 12.5 years with the school district. I left there because of all the hell I went through. I prayed to God, and I made the decision to leave. Like the other woman said, 1 medication to almost 5. And that's when I finally said enough is enough. I worked in my department for almost 3 years with no supervisor. I ran that department, worked overtime without getting any pay, and was the best person in that department for them to hire someone 20 years younger than me, Asian, who had never worked in city and county and who had never worked in a print processing department and mail services like I did. I left and went to Laguna Honda. I said I would never let anyone do to me that happened at the school district. I get there, 2 supervisors tried. They went to HR over the executive director who was black and over the operations manager who was black to try to get me fired. I said the first job I could get to get me out of Laguna Honda, I would leave, and I did leave. I currently work for the San Francisco Police Department. I am the only black person in my department, but I can finally say, knock on wood, I am stress-free at my job. So I would like to say to you guys, you know what's going on. You need to do something about it. 16 years ago, my sister told me, Winetta Davis, who works for the Department of Public Health, to apply for a city job. I said no, because you only get a job if you know somebody. And that was 16 years ago. And here it is, 2018, and it still is the same thing. You guys need to stop hiding. I am one Rosalind, a black Rosalind, who is the daughter of a longshoreman. My dad just passed away. I don't have a white Rosalind, and I shouldn't have to be a white Rosalind to move up in city and county.
Hello, my name is Michelle Pierce. I am with the Bayview Hunters Point Community Advocates. I am here because these things, as we have heard, are not even hidden. We know they're happening, and my greatest concern as someone who does environmental justice and equity is that these practices brought down on city government employees bleed out into the community. You have people in this city expecting services from your employees who are being treated in the same way, with the expectation that there is no accountability and no repercussions, and that is unacceptable for us. We use pretty words, and this is directed towards you, Supervisor Kim, because I use the same words. We use pretty words like out-migration and displacement. And the reality is the African American community is being run out of this city. We are being targeted out of this city by employees who are just transferring their mistreatment to us. And the consequences can be seen in the numbers. You're running out the nurses and the MDs who are working in our neighborhoods with our communities. Why is the maternal and infant health outcome
in San Francisco worse than most third world nations, worse than the South, because the health department, this is epidemic. Why are our asthma rates worse than third world nations, than anywhere in the South? Because the employees in our health department who can acknowledge that these are epidemics are not willing to do anything about it, because there's no repercussions. When we die, we have to leave. We have to out-migrate in order to survive. These are real issues for us. Thank you very much.
Supervisors, thank you for a long overdue hearing. I'm Toni Kelly, I'm on Potrero Hill, and what the city is doing to its own workers, as you hear today, to its African American workers, depriving them of middle class jobs with dignity and respect, they're also doing to the working class neighborhoods of color in the city, just like you heard from Michelle Pierce. In the southeast of the city, supervisors, you probably know that there's up to a 14-year shorter life expectancy in zip code 94124 than other zip codes in the city. We have disparities on cancer, heart disease, asthma, average HIV load, many other disparities. The Department of Public Health, other cities study this.